have my
No, I don't
wire,
have
so I
anything.
put on this. Yeah,
What wire?
it was on here.
Oh,
You took it for your tap dancing.
But then I gave it back.
Hun, I haven't
No,
seen it.
I gave it back because it kept
okay. Can you
using
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, someone. Oh, that's you.
Nobody said anything. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, I play. Okay, now you can hear me?
I can.
Okay, it helps if you put the right plugs into the right holes. Okay, so
We're supposed to keep this clean. I'm sorry. I said that out loud.
now you said, did I say that out loud? Is that what you're saying?
Where are you?
Go put on the air.
Okay.
It's hot. Don't tell me to shush.
Okay, I'm going to
Put it on.
write down the people that I Maxine. Carrie. Matt. Greg Smith. Johnson. Okay, so I see somebody whose last four digits on their phone number is 7456. Could you identify yourself,
Yep.
please?
Yeah, that's me, Julie Johnson.
Okay, Julie Johnson. And then we have somebody whose last four digits are 5343.
Yes, my name is Lil Seraphine.
Seraphy. Okay. Okay, so right now, why don't I just go ahead and just call out who I've written down. And so I've got David Flores, Melvin, I have a Diana, a Michael Hacker, a Maxine Kaplan, a Carrie Sylvester, Gerald, Chris Lambert, Matt Winginger, Greg Smith, Tina Flores, Sherry Johnson, Mike Kusamo, Gina Usha, Julie Johnson, and Lil Seraphy. Have I missed anybody? Okay. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I'm sure most of you are aware that this is a special board meeting and we're going to have some special rules because we're going to have a public comment section, and then we're going to waive what we call the rules, what our normal rules for public comment is. And so if you're going to make a comment that's not on the agenda, Bill, tell me if I'm saying this right, how we agreed we were going to handle it. Basically, you're going to be limited to 2 minutes, which is the normal way that we have it. But we're going to waive the general rules of public comment, and we are going, after we get into the meeting. And that's going to allow each person who wants to talk to have 4 minutes. And then we're going to move into what I will call a more back and forth question and answer section. And at that point, and what I'm going to ask is that we are all polite. We're going to be moderating this, that part of the meeting in a much more controlled way. So I'm going to be muting everybody so that we don't have people talking over each other. And I'm going to be a designated co-host. So if on the meeting you raise your hand because you want to talk, then I will go ahead and unmute you so that we can have our back and forth dialogue. And okay, so have I pretty much, sort of given the overview? If I missed anything, Bill?
So just to clarify, Catherine, what you said is correct. So if someone wants to talk about an item that's not on the agenda, it'll be under our existing rules where you have 2 minutes to talk. That will not involve a question and answer session. Then after that's concluded, we will need a board motion to waive the rules in accordance with what the agenda says, which Catherine accurately described that. We will need a motion, second, and approval when we get to that point, because it's
Okay.
waiver of our standard rules. And then you would proceed with speakers up to 4 minutes each, followed by a question and answer session until you decide that we've concluded.
Okay, so I'm trying to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start section agenda item 1, which is public comments not on issues on the agenda. So if you have, since this is a special board meeting and this special board meeting is specifically to talk about the what do we call it? The request for accommodation for the house on Dagama Court. If you have, I'm just going to ask anybody to unmute themselves or raise their hand if you needed to make a public comment that was not at all related to that that topic. Because I'm sort of making the assumption that we're all here to talk about agenda item 3, which and agenda item 4, which has to do with the request for accommodation for an elder care facility on Dagama Court. So is there anybody, if you can raise, okay, David's raised his hand. So David, you want to make, okay.
I would also like to make a comment. This is Julie. I don't have a way to raise my hand on my phone.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm just going to make some marks next to the people who want to make a comment under agenda item 1. And number 1, and we got David Flores. Is there anybody else who wanted to make a, Diana? Oh, is that, am I, okay, we got Diana. Okay. And is there anybody else who wanted to make a comment under the agenda item 1, something that's not related to this? Okay, so.
I do, Christy Alec.
Oh, Christy, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read my list of people one more time because it looks like Christy just jumped on. So I'm going to read the names one more time. And if I've missed you, please go ahead and let me know who you are. Okay, so we've got David Flores, Melvin, Diana, Michael Hecker, Maxine Kaplan, Gary Sylvester, Gerald, Chris Lampert, Matt Winginger, Greg Smith, Tina Flores, Sherry Johnson, Mike Kusamo, Gina, Usha, Julie Johnson, Lil Safar Serafi, and Christy Alec. Is there anybody else who I've missed at this point? And Christy Alec, did you want to make a comment under agenda item 1, not related on the agenda tonight?
think they're muted.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment also.
I believe so.
Okay, so Maxine, you want to make a comment under agenda item
Wait.
1 also?
Just a general comment.
Okay. Okay.
Does it have to be relating to any of the items on the agenda?
Well, if you wanted to make a comment related to the other items on the agenda, that was going to be open to a 4-minute.
Right, I just have a general comment.
Okay, that's fine. So, and Christy, I think you were muted. Did you want to make a comment under a 2-minute public comment not related to this agenda, or were you hoping to make a public comment under a longer public comment under agenda item 2?
I guess it's number 2 where I'm given
Okay.
4 minutes.
Yes, yes, that's what we'll do then. So what I'm going to do is, let me get my phone going here. And let's see, clock. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with David. You're going to make, you have a 2-minute public comment related to something that's not on the agenda. Up, you can go now.
Thank you, Catherine. Sorry about that. Tina's phone's right next to me, so it's gonna give a little feedback. Anyway, so I just want to thank you. Spring is here, and a lot of the neighbors are starting to do spring yard work. I've noticed that there's more branches being put out around the neighborhood. Just maybe Infomart can send a reminder that we have to bundle all our branches into tie them up so Waste Management can take them. There are a few people out there that have just put their huge limbs out. So maybe a quick reminder in our water bill would be a wise thing to do for the next bill. Williamson County today was out installing radar detector on El Salito in front of Cypress Elementary, which they're going to gather the data, collect it, and know when to go out there. I spoke to the sheriff. He's the one that does the traffic enforcement around here, and a great officer. And I'd like to thank him for his service. And just a quick reminder to everybody that is logged on and here at this meeting, that there is a huge history of this mud and mud board, and I encourage you all to look into the past and look into what has been going on. Sorry about that. Well, what has happened in the past that has led us to this point in time right now. So I encourage all of you to really do your homework, do some digging on what our mud is, where our mud has been, and where it's going. And I encourage a lot of you to participate and actually even run for mud board positions if you want to improve and enhance our community, because we plan on being here for the rest of our lives, and I know most of you do as well. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Diana, you have 2 minutes. Let me know. Are you ready?
All right, I can turn my. You muted?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to just voice that there seems to be a little bit of confusion left over as far as branch collection goes. There's still quite a few homes that haven't been picked up, and I don't know if people aren't understanding how it works, and I know that calls have been made, so that's been frustrating. And I also wanted to thank the Mud Board for having this meeting for us tonight, and that we totally appreciate everything that you guys do for us, and we can see that you're working hard to maintain your professional roles with us, and it's greatly appreciated. And that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. And Maxine, you wanted to make a public comment.
Yes, I did.
Okay,
And I've wanted to say this for quite a while. I would like to see the meetings be more formal. I look at things from a common sense point of view. I think, and I know from attending other board meetings in other institutions, that meetings begin with a date and a time. And I have yet to hear a date and a time referenced. The other thing that I never see is, and I'm not really trying to be negative, I'm just trying to express my opinion and maybe educate a little. I would like to see the Open Meetings Act statement, I don't know what else to call it, rule statement, referenced, prior to a meeting beginning. So you have a date and a time and Open Meetings Act statement that is governed by law. The other thing, and I've kind of debated whether to say anything or not, especially when a vendor is presenting, I would like to see them not mentioned by their first name, but their formal name. The same could be said for any of us out here. We get a little too informal and it doesn't serve us right. And unless I can think of anything else, that's about it. I'd be happy to send you some information regarding how other meetings are conducted, with the date and the time and, et cetera. And as well, the public comments, otherwise known as citizens communications. There is a statement that can be read as well, which is more of a guide for those who are speaking. I think it would be really helpful.
okay, thank you, Maxine.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there anybody who's come on in the last, few minutes who wants to make a public comment during this section of the meeting?
Yeah, you skipped me. This is Julie.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I had you.
No problem.
Okay, so Julie Johnson, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I just wanted to express some frustration around the limb pickup. I reached out to Infomark through the contact us link on the website on the 28th because it was showing, I couldn't tell if it was showing my court picked up or half the court, but either way, there were still limbs there, so it was incorrect. They told me to be patient. It was still happening, so I followed up again on the 2nd. Again, assured me it's happening. I should expect something in the next few days. I followed up again on Friday. I will mention they did encourage me to keep following up for status. I followed up again on Friday because I have seen no limb pickup happening anywhere anymore. And it seems like, for the most part, from what I can tell, everyone's limbs have been picked up except the Gama Court. They're no longer responding to me since Friday. So I have no idea how to get a status of the limb pickup. I feel like Dagama Court has been completely overlooked. We have huge piles of limbs on our front lawns, which is probably killing our lawns. So it's just a bit frustrating and I have no idea how to get a status. So that's what I wanted to share.
Okay, and at this time, I'm going to now.
Catherine?
Oh, yeah?
This is Christy Alec. I made a mistake. I will catch on eventually to when I'm allowed to speak and not speak, or to which item. Can I make a comment or have we moved past that section?
No, if you still want to make a public comment, 2-minute public comment, I will definitely encourage that. So you ready?
I am. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to say a resounding thank you to the board. I know that you guys have been working hard and it has been less than ideal circumstances given COVID and given, elections, heated elections at that. So I really appreciate all the effort you guys have done to work together for this community. I did want to say that this was really the first election that I have participated in, and I've become really passionate about it. I've seen a lot of changes over the past couple of years that have really disheartened me, and I want really badly for our community to get back to where it was. I've taught so many of the children in this community. We've laughed together, we've cried together, we celebrated each other at the parks. I know that a lot of the community type getting together has been limited because of COVID and those types of restrictions, but I would really like to see a little less, maybe harassment is a strong word, but a sense of unity in getting back to, you know, agenda-free lives, efforts to really pull together as a community, because this is where we live. It's our respite. This is our stronghold. And we're a family looking after each other's kids and other family members. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so at this point, I am going to close agenda item number 1, which is the public comments, and I'm going to move on to agenda item 2, which is a waiver.
Can I speak?
Oh, did I miss somebody?
Yeah, Kat. Oh, no, I hear it. I just need a minute, if that's okay. Or is it too late?
Okay? You wanted to speak about something not on the agenda?
I believe so. Should not be on the
Okay,
agenda.
that's fine.
Okay, all I wanted to talk about is I had my house built here in the cul-de-sac. And one of the reasons why we moved here, it doesn't have an HOA, which, you know, we're happy about that. But the deed restrictions were just as strict, if not stricter, than the HOA if we weren't there. Of course, what I've seen over the years is they've been lax. We're not enforcing these. And of course, what happened to in the cul-de-sac, I think that just goes to show it seems like, I don't know, everybody kind of didn't really care. And all of us in the cul-de-sac did lots of homework, hours and hours. And all I'm asking for is that we get back to enforcing these restrictions, since we are, you know, paying the water. And it's part of the mud or the enforcement of everything. And let's make this a better place. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anybody else who wanted to make a public comment about something not on the agenda? Okay, at this point, I'm going to close the public comments, agenda item 1, public comments not on issues not on this agenda section of the meeting. And I'm going to move to agenda item 2, waiver and modification of the rules for public comment. Now, Bill, did you have a resolution for us to read and agree on and discuss?
Well, the motion would be essentially stated in item 2,
Okay.
which would be a waiver and modification of the rules. And then each person would have 4 minutes to speak, after which there'll be a question and answer session. So that would be the motion.
Okay, could somebody make that motion? Do a I so move kind of thing?
Yes.
Who was that?
No, that was me, Claire.
Okay, I tell you what, I'll do that. Somebody give me a second.
Did you make the motion already?
Yes, I made the motion that
second.
what
I'll
Bill
second it.
said. Okay, so now let's talk about this real quick so everybody is really clear. So the purpose now is we're going to move into a section of the meeting where anybody can make a comment about something on the agenda, and you're going to have up to 4 minutes. And we're going to move into what I'm going to call more of a back and forth question and answer kind of situation. So I'm hoping that that we're going to be able to this will continue to be a polite meeting. What my plan was to do.
Catherine,
Oh yeah.
can I interrupt a second?
Yeah.
We do need to vote on the motion.
Oh, I know. We're not there yet. I know. I haven't forgotten. What I wanted to say, what I was planning to do was just go back down through the list of people who are attending the meeting and ask if they have, and give them an opportunity to speak for 4 minutes and ask questions of the board. And if you don't want to make, if you don't have any questions, if you don't want to make a statement, then that's perfectly fine too. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the vote to adjust the rules for this meeting, and then we will move on to the public, a longer public comment section. And
Now, I have a question before
Sure.
you call for.
Yeah.
So this is just for this meeting?
It's just for this meeting.
Okay.
This meeting is, yeah, we are changing the rules in terms of how we're running this meeting. And because there was so much need to discuss the issue at the previous board meetings, that the configuration of the meeting just did not allow the residents to have the time they needed, and they weren't able, it did not allow them to ask questions and actually get a response. And because this is such an important issue, and for those of you who have seen the agenda, where agenda item 3 was the withdrawal for the request for a reasonable accommodation for the residents on Degama Court, the issue hasn't gone away, because the woman who was making the request for Degama Court, she owns another property in Anderson Mill West. And what we're hearing is she's moving forward under the radar in an attempt to, move her facility to that. So the problem has just shifted to a different house on a different street in the neighborhood. So this whole thing that we're going to be talking about has not gone away. So the need to come up with a policy for reasonable accommodation, how it's going to be handled within our community, none of that has changed. It has just changed as to which house it's going to start with. Okay, so Art, I'm going to go ahead and call the vote, and I'll start with you.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Beth.
Yes.
Linda.
Yes.
And I vote yes too. Now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the timing over to Jimmy Sagnas, so that I can concentrate on the comments that are being made and any of the question answer, and not have to worry about watching the clock. Now, so the way I'm going to envision this, that we're going to move now, is everybody's going to be able to have a 4-minute question, or a 4-minute another 4-minute comment, and then we will then go into what I'll call a more back and forth question and answer. And at that point, people can raise their hands, and we'll have a more involved discussion. How about that? So I'm just going to go down my list again. David, did you want to make a 4-minute comment, a public comment at this time?
Yes.
Okay. And Jimmy Sagnas, you're going to go ahead and be my timekeeper. And go ahead. Go ahead, David.
I thought you were going to go down the list and
No, go ahead. You can go ahead and you got your 4 minutes right now.
All right. Let me just gather my thoughts. I got the time. It's been an interesting couple of months with the Degama Court, residents, new residents, old residents. I am a believer that, if you're within the law, you're within the rules, that nobody should tell you what to do with your property. But I have to say that the house is for sale from last I knew, and I didn't think it was an issue. I wanted to tell the residents at the Degama Court, proud of them for standing up what they believe in and gathering together and doing the research and doing their homework. I commend them for that. This is America, and we have the right to do all those things. That's what makes this country such a great country. Now, my only issue with us going forward with this, even if she moves it to a different street, the issue I thought was that the parking was a big, huge deal. Even the residents of Begama Court stated that, why don't you do it on that street? It's a better suited street. But what, so to me, why would we discourage somebody from giving elderly people a place to stay? She's an entrepreneur. If I wanted to amend my deed to do something to be an entrepreneur, I would do, think that the community would encourage me to do so. But I just think that if we wanted to make a change in our community, we should be out there knocking on doors and having our deeds amended. Not making a resolution, but really putting in the hard work and meeting these people and talking to the people and getting the signatures, not making executive orders and this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to not allow this to happen. We should be knocking on doors. The board members should be out there talking to the people, getting those signatures. They should be putting in the work. I know they put in a lot of work now, but you know what? They signed up for this position, and this position requires a lot of work. So I ask that all these board members, step up your game, because, I ran last election. I didn't win, but I will continue to run until I die here. Every year I will run, and I will put in the work. And I encourage you to step up your game, because I'm coming and I'll put in the work. I got the hours. I don't have to work, and I'll work for this community day and night. So I guess that's it. There ain't nothing. How much more time do I have? I could babble on and on and on. Time, Jimmy?
Time. You have
Is that it?
Okay. You got a minute left.
Oh, I got a minute left. Okay. So, just for all of you that don't know me on Begama Court, I've been a resident here for 15 years. I have a kid in high school, a girl going to middle school next year, and I am going to be a part of this community for the rest of my life. I'm not a transient person. I'm going to be here. So, let's find a way to work together. I know there's some names been said, and, I don't hold hard feelings. So I'm like a mirror. So the way you treat me is the way I'm going to treat you. So, let's move forward and come up with ideas. I have some great ideas. If you take them, good. If you don't, I'm fine with that too. But, at least I need to be in the conversation and have the conversation with you guys, not just, not have that opportunity. And now that's it. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, so Melvin, you're up. You have 4 minutes. Are you ready?
Sure. Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound great.
All right. Thank you. So as a caveat to what my wife mentioned earlier about the neighborhood and the unity, I didn't realize how big the problems were until this past election year, which tells me that a large part of the problems that we were not having were created. Now, whether for a political platform or whatnot, that's semantics at this point. What has derived from it all has been anger, animosity, the antithesis of what a neighborhood is supposed to be. And the final A to that is, what is the agenda? And so my comment is based on being a good neighbor. People that don't live on Begama Court don't have an opinion that matters on Begama Court. People that don't live in Park Place don't have a case to be brought up. It's called legally no standing. Stay in your side of the street. If you have a problem on your side of the street, manage it, handle it. The MUD board right now, I feel, is acting appropriately by placing answers where we had none as an entire neighborhood. We're dealing with an entrepreneur. I don't think anybody has a problem with the entrepreneurship, but if those other residents, which is none of our business, do raise the question, the board should be, or at least have answers to guide them. And so I believe that to be a very responsible American and legally stated agenda item for them. The other thing is, as a board, I really agree with what Maxine said earlier about establishing the rules and establishing some type of engagement policy where we can get on and speak civilly, regardless of whether you're a board member or not. However, I do find it to be very antagonistic and very malignant when one of the board members, whoever it may be, always has a comment for every single thing. That's impossible. Nobody has the answers to everything. That's why there's more than 4 or 5 of you on the board. And I think that it's a tall tale as to what's been going on. Everybody thinks they have the answers instead of it being a collaborative effort to make this a better place. And the bottom line is this anger and animosity and driving by, I don't know, even my house, it's not going to be tolerated. I've had individuals call the police on the police, which I find very humorous. But the interesting thing about it is the comments and the complaints are going to a law enforcement, a state law enforcement agency, which means every time they do that, it's becoming an investigation into all of the things. And so I welcome anything internally where we can get more law enforcement officers looking at what's taking place. Because if there is professional impropriety or ethical issues lawfully, then those individuals will be held accountable. And so I say all that to say, we've gone back and forth now for several months, if not almost a whole year. And we as a neighborhood are tired of not being able to just enjoy each other, block parties. I don't care whether you live on my street or not, you're welcome, but don't come over here if you don't live here to create problems. It's not like we're coming to your neck of the woods. And I think that the idea of creating an antagonistic atmosphere, I still have yet to understand how you're helping. All right, thank you.
Okay.
I'll shut up.
Okay, so the next up is Michael Hacker. Michael, did you have a 4-minute comment?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Jimmy, go ahead and start the clock.
Start. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Again, I'm Mike Hacker. I own the house at 2700 DeGama Court. I've owned it since 2001. I'm going to try to make this organized, but a lot of this is actually a bit emotional, so I'll try to keep on track here. 2700 DeGama Court is my home. It's my home. It's my family home that I intend to make forever. I intend to die with that being my home and leave it to my children however they want to have it. In the 80s and 90s, I lived in Northwest Hills in Austin. We didn't like what was going on there. We had a problem with the school district and things. So my wife, who was a realtor at the time, we started looking around and we looked at all kinds of places, you know, out around Rock, even Pflugerville and Georgetown. We came across the area that is controlled by the Williams and Travis County MUD Board 1. And being a realtor, the first thing we look at, my wife looked at, was the deed restrictions and what kind of community is this. We found DeGama Court, built a new house there. I have to be honest with you and say that I was a little chagrined to be having an address that said Cedar Park, Texas. Because when I was in Northwest Hills, Cedar Park was not kind of well thought of. We kind of called it Cedar Chopper or something. You can fire me from the next phone call, just don't let me speak. But I can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the community and part of that particular city as well. 2 of my 4 children, who are now all adults, were in the Cedar Park High School band. They went through some state championships with football teams and band. I got very active with the band community. And part of that, I met a lot of people who live in this district, in the MUD 1 district. And I can't be more proud of the attitudes that these people have about helping each other, what it means to raise a family, let their kids make friends, have a chance to enjoy the quality of life that is really, you have to kind of pinch yourself to dream about. when we talked about maybe possibly moving someplace else, my children, as I said, who are all now adults, are telling us that they are not going to let us do that. They will hog tie us before they allow us to sell this house. They're so proud of the area that we live in. And when we looked for it, I mean, we definitely saw things like there's obviously basic zoning, like is it not zoned mixed use, multifamily, single family, commercial, that mattered. And there were rules and regulations, which I think Mike Cusimano already mentioned, go beyond what a lot of HOAs have. Things like no cars in the street overnight, no more than I think two or three in the driveway, no trash cans visible except on trash days. And initially we were, a little, we had to obey those rules that we weren't used to. But at the end of the day, we grew to respect the restrictions that you guys have, and definitely grew to support it. And David, I want to, echo your comment about, this is where we intend to be. We should get along. I'm not happy that there are things that generate unhappiness. I wish that we could, as you say, all get along. At the last time I spoke here, I just want to say again that speaking for myself and all my neighbors on Dagama Court, we are neighborly, law-abiding citizens who want to raise our family in a great place, and that we think that's where we have it. And that's really all we're trying to do. Thank you very much.
Time.
Okay, thank you. Now, Maxine, did you want to make a public comment related to the whole issue on Dagama Court?
Number 3, is that number 3?
Yeah, yes. Or number 4, yeah.
This is the first, I'm not surprised, but this is the first time that I'm hearing that Miss Sapir is going to convert her house on Beech Nut to a senior home, whatever it's called. And I'm wondering why the residents who live on that street aren't here tonight. Since you knew about it, why don't they know about it? And I have one other comment, which I hope is okay. It's just a general comment, that even though there's a limit, whether it's 2 minutes or 4 minutes, please let the person finish the sentence. Thank you.
Okay, so next up we have Gary Sylvester. Did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
Sorry, I was trying to find my unmute. No, I don't have any comments this time.
Okay, and Gerald, did you have a 4-minute comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Catherine, can you hear me?
Yes.
So can I go at the end? May I go at the end? Because of the situation I'm in with regards to all this, I'd rather wait to the very end before I make any comments.
Okay, yeah.
I probably will.
Okay,
I probably will have some.
That's fine.
Okay.
And there'll also be opportunities, when we have the question and answer, that's fine. Chris Lambert, did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
No, I'm just here to observe.
Okay. And Matt, did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
No, thank you. I'm just listening.
Okay. And Greg Smith, did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
Yes, Catherine, I would like to.
Okay. Jimmy, go ahead and tell him when to start.
Start.
All right. I just want to thank the board for all the time they've taken to hear about the residents and the group home controversy on Dagama Court. Certainly don't have a fun job. My wife and I and our children have lived here since 2000. Part of the reason that we purchased here was because of the strong family orientation and the deed restrictions that protect our property values and our quality of life. It certainly is controversial what you've had to ponder and consider. I know there are reasons to make accommodations for, if I had a child that was in a wheelchair or something like that, I'm completely okay with the board helping families in these communities. However, considering Ms. Sapir's request for accommodations, whether it be on Dagama Court or Beech Nut, I think you all need to reject that outright. That's what you were put there to do, and she could potentially sue the board. And reading from her lawyer's letters, it looks like they might have an ability to beat that, but it is your responsibility to defend those up to the point of even legal costs. I think you all have done a great job. You've listened to us real carefully. Certainly no fun for anybody. Tonight is also the first time I heard that potentially the Beech Nut residence was going to be converted. If you all know anything about that, I think we'd all appreciate any insight into any facts on that. There's certainly been some suspicions about it. I am happy with the decision Ms. Sapir had to sell the home on Dagama Court, but I don't wish this problem on our neighbors over on Beech Nut Court either. Other than that, thank you all for your service.
Thank you, Greg. Tina Flores, did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, sorry. I don't really have a comment about the situation on Dagama Court. I just wanted to make a general comment about, I guess, some of the things that derived from that situation.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, I mean, if you don't, I don't mind. I can pass if.
Well, if you, it sounds like you're wavering, but it does sound like you do want to make some comments about some of the issues regarding Dagama Court. So keep going on. Keep going.
I was just going to echo off of what Mr. and Mrs. Alec said. You know, if the main goal is to all get along. We all have families here, and we all have, you know, the same goal in mind. So just everyone that's, you know, talking about being neighborly and community, I just want to remind everyone to really listen to your own advice, and that's it, really. So
Okay. Sherry Johnson, did you have a 4-minute comment?
No, thank you. I'm just here to listen.
Okay. And Mike Kusamo, did you have a 4-minute comment?
Sure, I'm able to talk about, I think I'm able to talk about all this stuff. I know, so I'll go forward. We as Dagama Court neighbors, we actually went out and got signatures. We walked flyers and so forth, in case you guys are not aware of that. When we just had major problem when we tried to have what they called a private meeting, that was a board meeting with the buyer for the 2704 Dagama. Just to let you guys know, it is under contract. It's supposed to close any time now. I have met the buyer. I have all their information. So anyways, just want to let you know that. I'll let you guys know what it sells for when that happens. Property values are very important to us all. And I think that's where it all started from, when we found out what was going on. So I think, I forget who said that about knowing what is happening in the neighborhood. Maybe a better way of doing it. The other couple of things is, you know, when we had conversations, we had responses to what was going on Nextdoor. They were taken off, we were blocked. And I think that's tragic. So we got that. Draw single family. When I went over to the private meeting, I was 100% positive this was a board meeting, private board meeting. Linda was over there. She was the only member of the board. She did mention several things, kind of how to get more involved with, how to fight the problems that, or the concerns that we have. She talked about the board, how everything works. So I still to this day believe that she was representing the board at that time. And I know that's been brought up several times. So at the end of the day, I think all of us can agree that unfortunately Linda and David too made matters worse. And we worked so hard to try to prevent from that happening. So it maybe got ugly a little bit, but bottom line is we want to enforce these deed restrictions. We want everybody to know what's going on. And the bottom, like I said, with the what she's doing now, I think that still should be brought up. It's not in our cul-de-sac, but it is in our subdivision. So I guess it's pretty much, yeah, I think that's what we have here. We do expect, we want to get speed bumps here at Dagama Drive and Dagama Court. People just blow through those stop signs all the time. It's very dangerous. We're right by the elementary school. There's kids that are on that street, whether they're supposed to be or not. It's just a very dangerous part of the entire subdivision. So I reach out, hopefully we can make a change on that. I will also send an email out to you guys asking for that to happen. And I'm sure we can get signatures for that to be requested as well. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm
Hey,
done.
Mike?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Is there a way, just so that we're all on the same page, because I know that's part of the reason why we're having this meeting is, I mean, I would like to hear it firsthand, but you were saying that there were some problems during that meeting. Can you share so that we can have this openly? What did happen in that meeting that didn't go very well?
Quite frankly, I mean, it was escalated when David showed up. And I think everybody, it didn't need to be that way. We were trying to understand, ask questions. They may have been, let's say, dumb questions, but we had no idea what she was trying to do, maybe the laws, the restrictions, and so forth. I can't remember every little thing. I know David was putting videos in people's faces. It was a closed meeting. We didn't see that David actually belonged with this whole meeting or this closed meeting because he wasn't involved with the cul-de-sac. And the only way he would have found out about this meeting had to come from, I would think, Linda. And like I said, I thought it was a board meeting. I know some of these other people here would be able to get more detail, but he made it very rough. He refused to say who he was, and we asked him to leave because of how irate he got, and he refused. So it was pretty intense, unnecessary, and I just hope that that can be prevented in the purpose. Yeah, I'd say my wife didn't want her to be videoed. We also had a couple other wives and people did not want to be videoed, and he continued. So anyways, it's unnecessary. Yeah, and he's aggressive and stuff. I think that's it.
What was that last thing that you said?
He's just really aggressive. And like I said, Linda acted like a board member. She gave us tips or strategies on how to fight this. Yeah, and then the board doesn't enforce anything.
Is what she's.
Okay. Hey, David, I'm gonna acknowledge that you've raised your hand. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna continue to let the rest of the people online may have their comments, and then we're gonna move into the more back and forth part of the meeting, okay? So Gina, we've got a Gina. Did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
Start.
Do we still have Gina on the line?
No, thanks.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so Usha, I saw that Usha was here. Did you wish to make a comment? I'm not seeing you online anymore, though.
No, I'm online. I'm
oh, there you
listening.
are.
Yeah. I just muted myself. I don't have the topic. Thank you.
Okay, no comment tonight. Okay, Julie Johnson, did you want to make a 4-minute comment?
I'm driving now, so I'm just going to be listening at this point.
Okay, that's fine. I understand. Lil Safari, did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. And Christy Alec, did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
I did, actually. I was going to abstain, but I think I do, actually. Let me
Okay,
know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. You know, as I said, I know that I made the comment earlier about wanting that sense of community back. We had it approximately 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden everything changed. I don't know what the impetus was. I still don't know what the end game is. I thought we all, you know, were in this agreement that, you know, this is a place of respite, that this is your safe place. You come home and you're not antagonized. You're not, you don't come home with your hands up in defense, any of those things. Yet, as I look at people's videos on this call, there's antagonism, there's aggression, and there's no place for that. When it comes to the Gama court, you know, I didn't intend to say any names, but I am, because I am a member of this community, and I do have a concern. I don't understand why David Flores continues to patrol this area. I don't understand it. This last time he said, you know, that he was checking the lights. Well, you can't check the street lamps at 12 noon. They're not on. So again, why are you patrolling the Gama court? You have no business over here. So if somebody wants to start a business, obviously you inserted yourself, or somebody nominated you to be a videographer of sorts. I mean, I know you stand behind your First Amendment right to video anybody and everybody whenever you want. But, you know, so is your role somehow going to be, you're nominating yourself to, you know, make sure that this business is running correctly? There's a total invasion of privacy here. Stay on your side. Don't worry about the business in a cul-de-sac that you don't live near. Let us handle our business on Dagama and Dagama Court. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so if I missed somebody, is there a Diana on the line?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed you.
Don't miss me.
Did you wish to make a 4-minute comment?
Yes, please.
Okay.
The first thing I would like to say, Catherine, is you're exactly right that that this business, while tonight's meeting pertains to the Gama Court, it's not going away, because this owner, Miss Sapphire, is planning to do the same thing on Beechnut Trail. There's a few things that I'd like to say about all of this. The parking is not just the only issue for this, as David liked to point out specifically. This is not the only issue. The part of the issue is, you know, accessibility, but it's all a moot point now. But the issue is that this woman, Miss Sapphire, came to us in complete dishonesty. She aligned herself with one of our board members, who presented herself as saying, we are going to have a cul-de-sac meeting that is going to be me helping you guys with this this owner. She pulls up into the driveway with her Linda Farber or whatever magnets on her car, and then 10 minutes into a discussion with this owner, as the owner is actually Linda was speaking for, 10 minutes into this, in walks David, who we all asked, who are you? And he walks in with his phone like this, videoing, so that we can all see that he's videoing us, being very antagonistic. And at that point, it turned into no good information was going to happen. There's definitely sides here. Somebody is trying to antagonize and harass us. And from that, we've had people, David, patrolling our courts, patrolling our neighbors. We've been blocked from online notifications and Nextdoor, which apparently they're part of. And then we've even had some of our teachers who are good people, do good work, have had phone calls saying that they're going to harass their kids at school. This is what we're dealing with when it comes to this whole process. Has opened up this ugly Pandora's box as to what's the undercurrent for our neighborhood, and that's not anything that we want to have a part of. The fact that we've got this board member who's suing our board and our neighborhood association to get rid of deed restrictions with the value of our properties going up are going to be more important than ever. And that is why we chose to live here, like Michael Hacker said. It's also interesting that Miss Sapire's former home on BeachNut, or home on BeachNut, was the former home of the president that was harassed into moving away. And then I would like to say that while I do respect everything that the board is doing, and I know that you guys try hard, I find it upsetting that the board didn't do anything to notify the neighborhood that this was going to be on an agenda in a more communicative way. We found out just because we regularly check the agendas, but not everybody does, which is part of the reason why the people on BeachNut are probably going to be sideswiped by this woman, Sapire, who presents herself untruthfully the whole way through. So if we approve deed restrictions for her on BeachNut, who knows where she's going to take that? Who knows if she's going to end up saying that, well, I said I was only going to put 6 residents in, but guess what? I'm adding onto the back of the house and there'll be 16 residents because that's where she goes. She's an entrepreneur and has been completely untruthful with us the entire time. So I feel like as a board and a community, we need to get together. We need to support our ACC, who is the one who really tells whether or not somebody can have these modifications to a house, make sure that the process is done properly and that the ACC is supported, that the Anderson Mill West Neighborhood Association is supported, and that, you know, the ACC process says that they're supposed to send letters, the owner is supposed to get letters from neighbors of the homes that are going in there. Well, that wasn't done either. So I just want to live in a neighborhood where we're not going to support infiltrates coming in and undermining our community.
Okay.
Time. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
so, Gretchen Smith, did you want to make a 4-minute comment?
No, thank you. I'm just observing.
Okay. Okay, so Gerald, I guess we're getting down to the end. So you have 4 minutes.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Start.
Okay, so because of the position I'm in, my comment is going to be very limited and very to the fact. The ACC does exist, and there are members on the ACC, and we did receive an application for Dagama Court. We responded to that application, and we spoke to Rocky. I'm really not privileged to reveal any of that information per se, but I think it appears that our response may have had an effect on her decision. I won't take credit for it, but just based on some conversations and some other things that may have been the case. But everybody has a misunderstanding about the ACC. It is not the place you're going to go to that's going to solve all your problems. It's very limited. It is in the deed restrictions, and the deed restrictions tell it exactly what it can and can't do. And so I'm kind of a legal mind type person, and I'm going to follow the rules, and I'm going to follow the rules no matter where it takes. So I just want everybody to understand that y'all on Dagama Court, y'all did your job. We did our job, and things seem to work out, I guess, for everyone. I would be caution everyone to make a lot of assumptions about what Rocky's going to do. Based on the information I've researched and found, I would be hard pressed to call her an entrepreneur. I call her unsophisticated. I don't know where she has all the money, but I'll leave it at that. I don't know if people had additional information about BeachNut, but we have no information. No one has approached us about it, but there is a lawsuit. And so we're going to cross our I's and dot our T's, and we're going to walk the fine line between, you know, what we do and what we can't do. So I just want everybody to understand we're out there, but we have limited powers and we have limited resources. And that's it.
Okay. So has everybody who wanted to make their 4-minute comment had their opportunity to make a 4-minute comment before I come around to more of a question and answer section opportunity?
There's just me. So my name's Alex. I believe you guys already know me.
Oh, yeah. Alex, you wanted to make, okay, yeah. Go ahead, Alex. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for the majority of the board for the hard work and diligence you've all been showing in, especially Bill. You're doing a good job. The ACC, you're doing a good job. I think the only thing I'd like to bring up is my concerns is that the issue with Linda and this David Flores character. I've opened up a website on Facebook, and this is my concern, there's been a lot of females who are scared of this individual. They've been opening and talking about the fact that he records them on his mobile phone, follows them, drives around pretending to be acting on behalf of the MUD board. And he's basically becoming intimidating towards the females of the community, which I think is pretty disgraceful. Now, knowing that this is quite a serious issue, I'm just wondering why a member of your board, Linda, keeps sending him around to intimidate people. I think it's getting to a stage now where enough is enough. We need to start thinking about some of the residents and the fact that the board is acting professional. Most of the members of the board are acting professional, and we appreciate that. But I think you need to address the situation because it's serious. We are actually have to have had put up closed circuit television cameras, which are recording David's actions when he's in our street. And it's not just our street, it's in other streets. And we've got CCTV footage of it, which we can prove if you need it. So this is the stage that it's getting to. So the police have been contacted. There are various crime numbers that are already on him now. And it's getting to the point where, this guy who's running around representing himself as being part of you.
Okay, we've lost you there, Alex.
Hear me?
Oh yeah, keep going. We're
Sorry. Sorry. So now we know David Flores isn't acting on your behalf or the majority of the members of the board's behalf, but apparently he is acting on behalf of Linda. And because of that, it's causing a lot of chaos and a lot of confusion amongst people. So we just want to know, and a lot of the community wants to know, what exactly is his position with the MUD board and also and his relationship towards Linda. That's my question.
Okay. So that's, and I guess that's a really good segue to move back into the other part of the section where we were hoping to have a more back and forth. So let me answer your question right now, and I'm going to ask that the other board members chip in with any comments. If I also, David Flores does not represent the MUD board or the MUD district in any way, shape, or form. If you feel threatened by David Flores, dial 911. That is all I can tell you. He does not represent have any representative authority in our community. And it's really important if you really, I'm going to repeat it again. If you feel threatened, and it's not just him, if you feel threatened in any way in our community, you need to dial 911. Now, before I open up to more questions, one of the things that I want to make some general comments about some of the things that people made when they were making their comments. And the first thing that I wanted to comment is we're just now starting to sort of like pay attention to what's going on at the house on Beechnut, the former house that was owned by Louis Zervigon. And so we haven't received any formal notice that something is going on at that house. And it is, there's going to be a follow-up by the MUD. And literally after this, I'm probably going to be directing the board, our general counsel to write a letter to the attorney in Raffi and ask if it is her intention to asked for reasonable accommodation at the house on Beech Nut, because it's not appropriate for her to think in any way, shape, or form that if she moves it to a different house and she does it really sort of like under the radar, that she gets in and you can't get rid of me. She has rules to follow. If she needs reasonable, if that house, if she wants to do something at that location, she has to make a formal request for reasonable accommodation. She's going to have to apply for licensing. Nothing has changed, which is why when we talk about some of these other agenda items, why it's important that we continue moving, we move forward, and we have a process as it relates to this process. The other thing that I wanted to talk about quickly was we are a residential, I mean, we are not a commercial community. We are a residential community. That means we have water rates that are based on residential use, sewer rates based on residential use, trash pickup based on residential use. If we are going to start, if as part of making reasonable accommodation, because I suspect that there is going to be some sort of reasonable accommodation that we're probably going to have to deal with. Part of that reasonable accommodation is trying to understand what is the rate going to be for what's the water rate going to be for commercial enterprise? What's the rate going to be for the sewer rate for a commercial enterprise? How do we deal with trash for a commercial enterprise that is operating in a residential neighborhood? There is no place in any house in our neighborhood for a great big trash dumpster to be in. We do not have the type of trucks coming into our neighborhood to pick up anything other than what size trash cans we have. And if you put a dozen people in a house, trust me, one trash can is not going to be enough. So those are all a part of the issues that have to be worked out when we talk about reasonable accommodation. And it's not something that you can just decide that you're going to slip under and run under the radar, because you're going to be noticed. So with that said, I know that David Flores has raised his hand. I'm going to turn it now. I'm gonna so let's see, unmute him. See if I got that right, so that David can ask his questions or lower hand, unmute. Okay. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, David.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I actually had a question, Catherine.
Sure.
Who did you hear that it was going to be moved to Beech Night? I'd be interested to find out how you found that out.
I was having a conversation with another board member where they're talking about where she was hearing. In fact, it was just a couple hours ago that there is work. Apparently, there's work being done. When I talked with Lewis before he left.
Was that Beth that you spoke to? Was it Beth, the other board member? Okay.
Yeah. And so when I talked with Lewis before he actually moved out, he said, the woman he shared with me that the woman who was buying his house was the same woman who was buying the house on Dagama Court. Mm-hmm. So he was actually wondering if the intention was
to move it there.
Yes, or to have two of them. And if I remember correctly,
I thought you could only have it every distance. There's a certain distance you could only have them between.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you obviously couldn't do that, which her plan was to live there and work at her other room.
Well, no, I don't know if we're talking about the same thing, but it was one of the other things I heard, and it's like, was that there are rules about how close these types of facilities can be. And the question was, is it as the crow flies or is it as the roads go? Because, that actually makes
Either
a
way,
big difference. Yeah.
yeah,
It makes a
it's
big
too
difference.
close.
Yeah. Well, so,
So,
but excuse
so
me.
really,
So,
we're basing everything right now on it's not fact.
right. We haven't
So
received.
I
yes.
would try to stay
Yes.
away from speaking unless you have the facts and don't, because you're misleading people thinking that, oh, it's going to happen, and there's people that are going to.
I agree.
Wait,
We don't know.
let's exactly. So why even mention it at this board meeting?
Because the point I'm trying to make is that even if she moves to another, the process still needs to be done. There was
Correct.
an
I agree
awful
with that.
lot. There was an awful lot of
But when that
work
process
that needs to be
starts,
done.
when that process starts, then you can say the process has started, and then you can
Well-
let the public know. But
Well, I'm going to
wait,
ask.
let me-
I'm
wait,
going to
wait,
ask.
wait,
David, if
wait,
the
wait.
neighbors have been
Wait,
told that
I'm
by
in the middle of a
someone working
sentence.
in the home, someone that's working in the home said that's what's happening to that house.
And
And
Beth,
we need, and you know what, David,
spoke to
we
some-
need
you
to
spoke
know that.
to some Beth. You spoke to somebody at that home.
I did not. A neighbor
Okay.
called me. Because
So a
of
neighbor
someone that's
called
worked-
you that
Yeah.
they spoke to somebody that they're doing
Oh
work on the
yeah,
house.
I know. Yeah.
So I would say, I would ask Catherine to control Beth and her.
Oh my gosh, David.
What?
When did you become part of the board? Help me understand that.
Listen, you were never elected as well, ma'am. Remember that you were appointed.
I
you were never
was
elected.
actually. Thank
You were never elected by the people. Okay.
I was.
So Catherine,
Let's stay on
so-
point. Please,
Catherine.
let's stay on point.
Yes.
Stay on point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Get combative.
okay. So,
So let's stop. Let's try not to have rumors or from secondhand put out there until the process has started. Once the process starts, that's fine. Say something, but until then, let's refrain from getting people excited.
I in general, I agree with what you're saying, but the problem that we have right now is that the woman that we're dealing with has been really dishonest with everybody. And so I feel it is more than appropriate for us as a board to reach out to her and reach out to her attorney and ask for them to affirm or deny their intended
What-
use for that house.
What legal standing do we have to do that? Can you ask Bill that?
What legal standing? What legal standing?
No, just ask Bill the question. What's funny? I'm asking you to ask Bill the
I
question.
tell you what.
Do we have any legal standing to go ahead and send her and ask her? And does she have to answer? Ask Bill,
No.
does she have to answer?
Okay, are there
I
any
thought
other
this was
questions?
I thought this
Yeah.
was supposed to be a dialogue. We're supposed
Yes,
to.
it is. And
So
you know,
could you
my
ask
attorney
Bill?
has been very, my attorney doesn't give legal advice in open court. How about that? Or in open session?
May I comment on the legal standing?
If you want to, sure, that's fine.
Okay, David, the process was actually began when it started in Dagama Court.
Right.
And the MUD board and ACC all collaboratively did not have a response to defend the neighbors. So whether it is or is not for BeachNut, whether it is or is not for any other home in this neighborhood, the MUD board actually has a responsibility to start getting those answers ahead of time so that when the situation does come, they can guide our neighbors. Now, as a community, what we have a responsibility to do is support each other on the interior and not make such an investment on the exterior. If somebody wants to come in, that's fine, but let's go through it together. If somebody was to do something on your street, David, it would not be my responsibility. But if you brought it to the board and we didn't have answers as a community, wouldn't you want us to do the same for you? That's what we're doing. We don't know that BeachNut is going to have a problem with this, but if they do, Isn't it more professional for the MUD board that we elected to have some answers in place in collaboration with the ACC? That's my statement.
Okay. Do we have any more questions? Because we're actually, if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to move on to agenda item 3.
Well, I have more questions.
Okay, go ahead. Let's ask some more questions.
Catherine, I've had my hand up for a while now.
Oh, I'm
There you
sorry.
go.
Am I missing it? Who am I missing?
Yeah,
Mike
Mike's
Cusmano.
next.
You
Go
got
ahead,
me?
Mike.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike. Oh, that was
Okay.
just where Evan was in my queue. Go ahead, Mike.
My wife just wanted to say
Actually,
one thing.
this is Mindy Cusimano, and I just have one comment. I'm just on with Mike. I wanted to clarify a statement made by Gerald. He said that he didn't have any information about Rafi being an entrepreneur. That's actually false. We've done a lot of homework, the residents on Dagama Court. And if you look at her Facebook, her LinkedIn, and she also has videos where she is actually claiming to be an entrepreneur. I also know a couple of people who own different residences in the area for the elderly, the types of residents that she's talking about. I have spoken with a couple of them, and they told me that she approached them a while back asking either to purchase their properties or to work with them so that they could share in her cash flow.
Anyway, I think, yeah, Catherine, I think, the dishonesty with her, which is what really set the neighbors off in Dagama Court. Every time we asked her a question, she gave us a different statement, which made it really difficult to try to work everything out. And I have maybe a question here. I just don't understand why David showed up. I don't know why David is a part of the involvement with Dagama Court. And I just got to think there's got to be some type of financial gain. I am confused. And I've asked him that several times. He refuses to reply. And of course,
I'll
that's
answer
his
right
right.
now. If you'd like, I'll answer right now. How many times
would
have you
love it.
asked me? Yeah, I have no financial gain. I don't even know the lady.
So
Okay?
why? Well, you know her because you met her.
Yeah, I met her once.
Okay, and so
There's your
why
answer.
do
I
you
have no financial gain.
So what else do you have then?
What's your question?
My
Why was I
question is
there?
why were you there?
I was there because Linda asked me to go there to just stand by her side because she was going into a meeting with 10 other people that she didn't know.
Yeah. So again, now
So
we're
is that
dealing with the
is
board.
that a crime?
Well, what
We're
was your
not dealing with
intention to walk
legalities
in
here.
and start recording everybody?
Okay, now, being in law enforcement, you should know that I have the right to record. Okay.
Yeah, but what? Listen, okay, there is a right to record, but I'm asking you some questions.
Because listen, I'll
What
tell
is
you
the
why I
need to do
record.
it?
Because there are always people that lie. Okay, the video does not lie.
Listen, you didn't record the
an
whole meeting.
objective-
You didn't turn up to 10 minutes late, and you stopped recording probably 20 minutes in.
How do you know that?
Because I was watching you.
You
came in.
watching.
You was very You came in. You was very confrontational. You called members of this court Nazis for the way they were acting. You was acting on behalf of Linda. Okay. You walk around.
Is that
letting
fact?
everybody know? Yes. David.
See,
look,
how do you? How? What's
David? David.
See, this is what started it. Is that you started?
David, you need to go home and you need to play with your Barbie dolls, dude, and stop messing around with all this. Because all you're doing is you're causing chaos.
David, I asked you specifically not to record. I said, David, you do not have permission
I don't
to
need your
record.
permission.
We have not given you permission. That
You
is
don't need
us
permission.
voicing our right to not be recorded.
Well, you got Linda, who invited you, which is unique. And as soon as you showed up, you pretty much ran and got in the face of Diana, and not sure why that all started. You could have easily come and listened, but you got combative and aggressive, which, how can we have a meeting like that? And Linda was acting like the board member, and then you just self-admitted that you came on her behalf. interesting how all this is playing out, and it always has to be between you and Linda against
Linda?
everybody else.
Where is Linda in all this tonight? Why is she not sharing why she had David there? That would help everybody understand that, I think, especially for Dagama Court. It would be nice if, Linda, if you could help them understand why you had David there. I think it would help the whole neighborhood.
So,
Linda, you still?
so
Okay.
you know, I like I said, I record because people don't tell the truth, okay? And the video doesn't lie. So when I got there, there was assumptions about parking by that British dude, okay? Whatever his name is with the accent. So he was assuming that there's going to be 20, 30 cars in the thing. And I said, well, that's not a fact. That's an assumption. And he said, whatever. And, you know, and then he said, well, who are you? What are you doing here? So to me, he was the aggressor, everybody. Okay. And it's all on video. So
David, those witnesses to the whole event.
I'm sorry.
And I
No,
would
that
like to
you
ask,
came in aggressively.
hold
You
on.
called us Nazis.
Okay.
no,
hold
I
on.
did
One
not.
at a
You
time
took me
Yes,
out
you
of
did.
context.
Yes,
Once again,
you did. We
okay.
have a recording.
David, you're out of
I
control.
I
David,
think
you're out of control.
Okay.
You need
Okay.
to
Hold
just
on.
relax with what you're doing,
Okay.
okay?
Okay. I'll relax.
I think that
Miss Alec has her hands raised. So
yeah. So hold on.
Go
Let me
ahead.
just make a. This is I think that we can all agree that there was a mistake on David's part in terms of how he interacted with his neighbors. And it did not help the situation at all. It's unfortunate that Linda's not here, not saying anything. She's, and it's unfortunate that she wasn't able to call him off and to have him back off somehow, so that
you make it seem like I'm her dog, like I'm under her control. I do things
Just
for
accuse
me.
that same thing in regards to Beth. Somebody get control of Beth. So that's a little hypocritical, David. A little
Okay.
hypocritical.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would
Okay.
like to
It is.
say, Catherine, in
Yeah.
regards to your last statement, David, as far as your First Amendment right to put a camera in somebody's face, where
It
do you
wasn't
draw
in
the
the
line?
face.
Your statement was, I do it because people lie. Can you tell me why you tailed my daughter, put a camera in her face, and said,
In her
I
face?
know who your father is. I know who you are. Can you tell me? She never lied to you.
Sure.
You didn't know who the heck you were.
You want me
That's
to?
how aggressive you are, and that's the threat that you are to this community.
Miss Alec, would you like me to respond to your
Go
question?
ahead. I'd like to know why you followed my daughter. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I will come over to your house tomorrow and we can
You're
discuss.
not allowed on my property.
Okay.
You're not
I'm not
allowed
coming
there.
to your property. I'll go
Hey,
right in front of
Christy.
your house.
Hey, Christy. This is
I'll
David's
answer your
wife.
question.
You may want to have a conversation with your husband.
No, I'm having a
Your-
conversation with David.
No,
with your
let me
husband.
finish.
You
Mute
can't
them.
follow
Let
my
me
daughter.
finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
Catherine,
Your
mute them.
husband, your husband
It's
had a
not funny.
conversation with my husband where they squashed everything, just so you know.
There is no
Your
squatting
husband
following a
Let
minor.
me finish,
Okay, guys.
please. Let me finish. I do not
Catherine, mute.
appreciate all of you ganging up, creating a Facebook page where you accuse my husband of horrible acts. I have young children in this neighborhood too. My husband is not the things you say. All you hear is the bad things. You haven't heard about how he helps the disabled veteran down the road. You haven't heard how he helps all the neighbors on my street. You are getting a perspective and accusations from a handful of 3 or 4 women that hate my husband because he ran in an election for this mud board and he didn't win. That is what you are getting. Your husband and
It's
my
actually
husband
more than
had
Okay.
34 women.
Let
Okay.
me finish.
It's
Please
actually
let
a
me finish.
considerable
This
amount
is
of
important to me and my children. Please let me finish.
Your
Please.
children don't need to be involved in this. You're an adult.
Sir,
Okay?
kindly let
You
me
don't need
finish.
to use
My
the
children
children.
are not
Okay.
involved.
Okay.
Catherine,
Not
I'm
involved.
going to start muting people right
When
now.
you
Yes.
I think
Well, that's why
I'm
you have
going to start muting people because this is not what I wanted to have. I know
That is out of
there
control.
was- yes, I know that there is an awful lot of animosity. David, you have made mistakes in terms of how you communicate and how you interact, and people get really defensive when you start threatening their wives and their children. But we need to, but that is not what this whole meeting was about. Okay. So I'm sorry that Tina, that I had to block you, unmute you, and I'm gonna, because I just needed to take control of this meeting again. Okay, do we have anything that we want to discuss besides how frustrated we are with David's behavior at the meeting that Linda called? Does anybody have anything else that would be important to share besides
Diana
that?
has her hand up.
Yeah, I see that. Okay, so go ahead and can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. So regarding the what went on at Dagama Court with Miss Sapphire, my question is, what can we do as a community and a board to notify the neighbors of the beach nut of what could possibly be going down in order to allow them to have a voice in what's happening? Because I would assume that she's going to have to make some modifications to the exterior of the house.
Yeah,
That
I
she's
agree.
going to need to have the ACC involved to allow that. And part of that process, from what I understand with the ACC, is to actually get letters from the neighbors saying that what their opinion is on this. So that is one question. Another question is that, is there anything that as a board we can do? Because when we as Dagama Court neighbors had issues with what went down, we did have an immediate interaction with harassment from the community, and our voices were blocked. Was there anything that the board can do to help with that as well? Those are my concerns, because I feel like the neighbors should be able to speak freely and be aware of what's going on.
And so just let me check for clarification. When you were talking about blocks, you're talking about being blocked on Nextdoor.
Yes.
Okay. Unfortunately, the MUD has no involvement in terms of how the Nextdoor social media app is run. What I would suggest is that you complain to Nextdoor, because I am sure that it was one of your neighbors who was blocking you. And Beth's been blocked, Megan's been blocked. We have Christy's been blocked, we're seeing. So we have a problem in our community where social media is being used as a weapon to silence the voices. And I'm assuming that that's also why, as part of this process, you created a private Facebook page so that you could talk amongst yourself and you would not have it be monitored or blocked by somebody outside of your small your small group. So that is like I said, the MUD doesn't have anything to do with Nextdoor, and I would complain. As a group, I would start complaining, because it's not just you. It's going on all over Anderson Mill West in all the sections where we have a group of people who are just blocking any kind of discussion that they don't agree with. And then as it relates to beech nut, again, I said we're going to need to find out what exactly is happening at that location, and then we're going to need to continue down the same path. If you recall, I created an ad hoc committee that was Beth and Megan at the time, that was supposed to come back with what we were going to call a reasonable accommodation, because as I've said in previous meetings, every section, whether it's in one of our HOAs or in one of the sections for Anderson Mill West, we have different deed restrictions. And so each of those deed restrictions has to be reviewed in relation to where that house is and to determine what exactly the reasonable accommodation is going to be. So I suspect that even though this process is it's either slowing down, it's either going to disappear or it's going to slow down because we're going to have to find out what's going on BeachNut. We're still going to have a process in place to respond to this type of activity in our community. When somebody comes and says we need a reasonable accommodation, we're going to need a process. We're going to need a policy and procedure in terms of how we go. You're going to have to anyway. So that's all I have to say on that. Did I answer all of those questions?
I mean, as best as you can.
Yeah, as best as I can.
I also I would like to hear from Linda. I want to know, why did she invite David to this private meeting in the street? What was, as a board member representing the board member, why did she have this guy come antagonize and then nothing but harassment from him since? Why?
Can I ask a question?
I'm very surprised that Linda is someone who's not quiet at all ever during a board meeting. She's silent right now. What is going on?
I agree, and I think this is I think the answer is that she doesn't have a good answer. But can I ask a question? Because other board members were not invited to this meeting. I was finding out about it, pretty much very close to when the meeting. So who actually called the meeting? Did Linda actually call the meeting?
Linda reached out to the neighbors and called the meeting.
Okay.
And it was only for the Dagama court meetings, the Dagama court neighbors.
Okay, so which is, what is there, 10 houses on the street?
12, I believe, right
12?
in the cul-de-sac, plus a couple more that are definitely going to be affected.
Okay. Somebody else was raising their hands or saying something.
Yeah, Catherine, this is Gerald. I don't know how to raise my hand. I'd like to make a couple of comments just along what you guys are talking about now, and something that someone said earlier. As a formal bank officer, there's many people came to my office and had a great idea, and they thought they were an entrepreneur and they had money, and it didn't turn out so well. So my comment about Rafi was she seemed unsophisticated as with regards to being an entrepreneur. And so it didn't seem like she really was that knowledgeable about what needs to be done in every situation. Now, she may be very ambitious and have a lot of ideas and is going out and trying different things. I wasn't commenting on that. Okay, I was just commenting on it. It didn't seem like she, to me, was that sophisticated in what she was trying to accomplish. That was my only comment. But I would like to address BeachNut. So sure. I don't know, have anybody gone out and watched her new videos? There's a couple of them. And so I think it gave a lot of insight into what she's doing on BeachNut. And when I spoke with her, she asked me a specific question. She said, well, the ACC cannot dictate what we do to the inside of the house. And I kind of said, well, maybe it can't. I didn't say yes or no. So, but if you look at her videos, I don't think she's trying to do what we call elderly care. I think what she's trying to do is rent rooms out to elderly people. And then she's going to find healthcare workers that go in and take care of her. There's a bunch of money out there that people can apply for that you can use towards rent for these kind of facilities. And she knows about that money. So it was appear that her entrepreneurship wasn't really about being a home like for the elderly care, like she was going to do on Adama Court. It was more like she was trying to match up people who needed money to pay rent and people who needed healthcare services for people who were just elderly who wanted to rent a room in a particular house. That's the impression I got from listening to her videos. And so I thought that is what she was going to do with BeachNut. Okay. That there was not going to be any licensing necessary. It is just going to like rent the rooms out. And then she was going to try to make the money by matching up all this federal money that you can get to subsidize renters. elderly renters.
Okay.
That's what I got the impression from. And there was something else she was going to do with the same area. I thought maybe she was going to just start her own home healthcare business, but I wasn't sure about that.
Okay. Okay. So what you're commenting about was just with your discussions with her in terms of, so to paraphrase what I heard you say is you got the impression that she literally was going to be like renting rooms out to the elderly.
Right.
And there was not necessarily going to be licensing for elder care going on. These were not going to be licensed facilities.
And that's from that, but that's from her video. That's not from talking to her.
Oh,
What I got from talking to her was that she doesn't think you need an approval from the ACC to modify the interior part of the house.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay.
Hey, Catherine,
Yeah.
can you have Bill kind of explain what process they're going to have to go through their attorney if they even want to do that on BeachNet? If that is in fact the fact.
Yeah. Well, actually, what I was thinking I was going to do is I'm ready to go ahead and I'm ready to go ahead and close this question and answer part of the meeting. Is there any last thing that we want to have? Okay, we got 3 hands that are raised. Okay, we're gonna try to wrap this up real quick. But Dana, what was your last question?
I appreciate Gerald's input, but I was really hoping to hear from Linda on my questions about why she handled that process that way as representing the board member, why she decided to bring David in. I just would really like to hear from Linda, who has a comment for everything on board meetings, because I've been watching. I just want to hear from her. I would like for her to have a say in what went on as well.
Okay. Okay, so then Mike, you still have your hand up. Mike Kusamo, you still have your hand up.
And it's Mindy Cusimano right now.
Okay.
But again, going back to Gerald, it seems like some of the information that we have is a little bit contradictory, just based on the connections that I have with some of the other owners of these types of homes. One of the owners, and she's also a doctor, told me that if Rafi couldn't get things done one way, that once she had people in the home, then she could make all her changes, modifications, licensing, and it would go through much more easily. And she wouldn't have to jump through as many hoops because it's harder to change it after she's in, making it easier for her to take her next steps, which may be why she's going under the radar. Yes, I'm speculating, but that's based on the facts that I received from the owner of another facility.
Okay.
Yeah, just to
And
finish.
she may be correct. She might be correct in that, because that is probably why, because I don't know why, but she told me there was a deadline for April the 2nd, and there's really no deadline for April the 2nd, but that she made that deadline. And since she didn't get an approval by April the 2nd, she just threw in the towel. So I don't know why she put those kind of restrictions on herself, but she said that she could not get the license without her having all the approvals done. So your other person may be correct in her analysis there.
Okay, and Tina, you still have your hand up. We're going to end with you, okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
It looks like Linda came on.
I don't really care what happens on Dagama Court. I was never involved in that. My only issue is the horrible things that get said about my husband and the horrible rumors that get spread from, again, a handful of women. I'm just here to defend my husband and protect my children from any rumors they may hear. That is my #1 goal. And if Miss Alec would like to speak offline with me so we can squash whatever it is that may be bothering her, I'd be more than happy to talk to her. privately offline so that we don't have to discuss it in front of a whole group. Again, you all are misassumed by my husband. His intentions are good. Again, you don't hear any of the good that comes from him because again, you're only hearing accusations from the same group of people. So I just ask that you hear two sides of a story because there is always two sides of a story, and just, you know, be respectful of young family in the neighborhood. I know you're asking the same of my husband, but I promise you his intentions are good. There's no ill intention that he has. He is not harmful. He is not dangerous. He has no record. He has no open investigations. And I can speak to that myself because I've actively called and made sure. We have also been subject to people threatening us in the neighborhood. You know, it's not fun for anyone. So we're not going to do it to anyone. So again, that's all I ask.
Okay. So at this point, I am going to close agenda item 2. And I'm going to move on to agenda item 3, which was the withdrawal of the request for reasonable accommodation under the Fair Housing Act for Dagama Court. Now, Bill, did you have anything that you wanted to add to this? All we know at this point is that we've received a formal withdrawal from Rafi and her attorney. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. In the agenda packet item, we included the email from her attorney, which specifically said the house is being sold and that there is no request for accommodation being put forth on that address on the Dagama Court.
Okay. So, then so moving forward though, I still think that we really need to continue to have a policy in place as it relates to something of this ilk. And what is the appropriate response right now as to deal with beech nut? I feel it is very appropriate for us to just reach out back to Rafi and her attorney and ask if it is their intention to make, if they're going to be making a reasonable accommodation request for their other property. Do you feel that that is an appropriate step we can take too?
I do. They're not required to answer the question, obviously, but we can make the request, see if there's any information regarding their intended use of that property that they're willing to give us at this time.
Okay.
As far as and if the board wants me to do that, we'll be happy to do that. But as far as a procedural policy, Catherine, I think that I would suggest you keep your ad hoc committee in place.
Yes.
Because as we know, between meetings, it's difficult to involve the process. If there is something going to be requested or happening at beech nut, I would suggest the ad hoc committee continue to work with me on that if that becomes an issue. And that's the best policy right now because every proposed use will be different. It's possible it'll be an entirely different plan for a different house, whether it's beech nut or another house. And every single family use potential violation is a little bit different, which is our item 4 for general discussion.
Right.
I do want to make it clear to the audience that this board did not agree to any request on Dagama Court, did not respond to any requests on Dagama Court because we did not have all of the details as to what was being planned. And in fact, it seemed that the plan changed midstream and we requested clarification from the attorney. And eventually what we got was projects not going forward. So the board did not agree to it. The board did not jump out there and deny it immediately. That would be an unwise decision, not knowing the protections in place that might apply on federal law and state law. And so we were in the process of evaluating for a response. Now, I'm assuming that probably a majority of the board would have liked to oppose it if it was illegal or if it wasn't protected. but that decision was not made. Neither has any decision been made regarding the beech nut property, which we don't have much information on, or any other property.
Yeah, and I'm just going to circle back around to as a community, everything is done from a residential single family point of view. Our water rates are designed to be residential, our sewer rates, our rates for, the deposit you put down when you open up your water account, the rate you pay for trash, everything is based on single family residential use. And so when we have a company come in, a commercial entity come in and use one of our facilities, we have to evaluate how that is going to affect our rates and et cetera. So that's why I agree with you, Bill, that that the ad hoc committee needs to stay in place. And one of the things that I think that they should look at is the whole concept of how should trash be handled, on does the fact that if you're going to be generating a huge volume of trash, we are just not a community who has trash service that can accommodate that. And so does that mean that is not a reasonable accommodation for us? So these are all really important parts of trying to identify the pieces of what's going of how one of these facilities is going to exist in our community. Let's leave it that way. Okay, so do we have anything more to talk about on agenda item 3, Bill?
I don't know if Megan or Beth have anything to add on number 3.
No?
No, not right now. We don't.
Okay. So then
I think at this point, Catherine, we've just spent, since it got withdrawn, we were just kind of sitting tight and just trying to listen, because obviously a lot of stuff got brought up as part of this, so that we can best address it thoughtfully.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if something happens at the other house on Beech Nut Trace, it's going to be a totally different set of issues that are going to have to be researched and and accommodated. Parking might not be the major issue, but we still have to deal with do a a detailed review of what the deed restrictions say specifically for that section. So okay, so let's move on then to agenda item 4. And that is deed restrictions containing single family residential use restrictions related to enforcement by the district. And I think, Bill, you had something that you wanted to share on this subject.
Okay. So what I'm going to try to do is outline the different categories of potential violations, maybe a little bit of history with the district, and just generally speaking, some of the laws that are out there. So most of the sections in the district, most of the deed restrictions talk about single family residential use of the property. Some are more specific, such as Hunter's Glen 1, where they actually attempt to define what a single family is. And but most of them don't attempt to do that. So usually the violations end up in court if they're challenged, and the courts look at various things. So the first category, kind of what we were dealing with potentially on the Gama Court, would be what I would call protected use. That even though the restrictions say it has to be single family residential use, a different use is protected either under federal law or state law. And to get that protection, get under that protection, some of the state laws are pretty clear and defined. And if you follow those, you're going to be protected from enforcement against that use. In other words, you'll be able to conduct the use, even though it's not single family residential use because some law says that it's permitted, it overrides your restrictions. In other cases, the laws are more general, such as the Federal Housing Act, where you cannot discriminate against disabled people. And so the courts have struggled with that. How do you apply that to different uses, which are not actually single family residential use, and what accommodations have to be made? And that's kind of what we were dealing with potentially on Dagama Court, a potentially protected use, which essentially overrides the deed restriction. Then on the opposite end, we have unprotected uses, which are not protected by federal or state law, and they're actually beyond any incidental use related to single family use of the property. And what I'm trying to say on incidental is you have a situation where the owner's living there, they have their family, and then there's another use of the property that's not single family residential use, but it's only incidental to them being in the house. And probably, I'm going to say 95% of the people in the community probably have conducted some kind of incidental business use in their house. Whether you're working remotely for your office, or you talk to your boss, or you've done something online, totally online, there's probably some incidental use of property. What the courts looked at actually quite a while ago was rental of one room in a house. Could a person rent a room in their house, even though it's single family residential use, bring in a stranger by renting that one room? And what the courts looked at basically was that incidental to single family residential use, which it was. And then was it having an impact on the neighbors, a significant impact on the neighbors? And if there was no significant impact from that incidental use, courts refused to enforce the restriction. So the third category is really in the middle. It's unprotected, but it's incidental to single family use without an adverse impact to your neighbors. Now, if that unprotected incidental use is impacting your neighbors, then it would not be protected and the courts would enforce. So years ago, we struggled with a daycare operation. I don't think any of the board members, probably not even Art, was on the board back then. And we reviewed this type of situation under the category of, was it incidental to single family use? And actually the conclusion in that case was that it was, and it had gone on for like 8 years with no complaints. We received the complaints. The board actually considered it with input from the attorneys for the owner. And the board in that case decided not to proceed because we felt that a court action, we wouldn't prevail in court. But each situation is a little bit different. It's different because your restriction may be different. It's different because it might not fall clearly into one of these categories. And then probably more importantly is determining what a single family is. And like I said, Hunter's Glen 1 appears to attempt to define that, but most of the definitions do not. One thing I said in a prior meeting, which may have been misconstrued a little bit, the district does not have a policy of non-enforcement of the single family use restriction, but we don't go looking for these violations. It's complaint driven. So if two unrelated people are living somewhere, it's not something that the board goes out there trying to enforce. When a complaint is filed though, we always have looked at it. And if it falls into a category that we can enforce, then it would be a board decision whether they want to go forward either with fines or court proceedings. If your restrictions do not define single family, which most of them do not, I'm going to read what Hunter's Glen says. It's not probably the common meaning, but it gives you kind of a scope of what it could mean. Single family of individuals related by blood or marriage or maintaining a common household as husband and wife or otherwise, or by co-owners, excluding cooperative type ownership as being used to avoid the intent of this restriction. And that's all it pretty much says. We know there are non-traditional families And we know that some people operate as a family unit that might be more than just the parents and children, might be grandparents or aunt or niece or somebody. So I think in the future, when a violation is brought to our attention, we'll be applying all those types of interpretations. Let me stop there, see if the board has any questions.
Well, I do have a question. So if we have a situation where where one of the houses in the district is every single bedroom has been rented out to somebody unrelated and the property owner doesn't live there. So basically they're renting rooms. Would that be a violation of what we would reasonably assume is the definition of single family residential use?
Yeah, the short answer is yes,
Okay.
unless for some reason they could come under protection under federal state laws. And in the instance you described, didn't sound like they had done that.
Okay, because I know that there have been some, I think some of the HOAs in the district do have rules against renting rooms out separate and apart from what I'll call Airbnb. This is, long-term single room rental is what I'm thinking about. But anyway, I was just curious, where that line was there. Does anybody else have any more questions about the definition of single family residential use?
So Catherine, one thing, and I think Megan can confirm this with Beth, one thing the ad hoc committee wanted to do, and we probably could still do it and should do it, is put together some information, written information that could go on the website that addresses some of these concepts we're talking about in general, so that people have some information out there they could refer to. I don't know, Megan, do you still feel that would be worthwhile?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Because that's like what the phone call that I got today. People just they want to understand it better. And I think that if it's on the website, it would give people, the more information we can put out there, the better.
I think
So I think it would be perfect to do that.
Recurring questions that came up
Yeah.
as part of this. What does this mean for the future of the district? Does this open the floodgates to anything and everything happening? Are we just going to have businesses everywhere, frat houses, on and on and on? And so I think, and so without any context for the parameters of what we're looking at in this particular situation and why this particular situation required us to look more closely at it rather than just dismissing it outright, I think that's a reasonable leap to make. So, even if we never, ever again have a proposal of this nature, I think it's helpful to have that information out there. I think to the extent that we have a commonly understood definition of what single family means for our community, I think that that the board can agree upon for enforcement purposes with Bill's, legal blessing. I think that all of that is only going to help us moving forward.
Okay.
And I know, Bill did a good job, trying to summarize what, kind of the breadth of definitions of single family. So to the extent that we can sort of like get that into something that is, really concise and understandable to people and write it out and think through it, I think that's going to be helpful.
Well,
too.
let me just share this. When I was, trying to talk this through with Bill earlier, I kept saying, single family, it's about about the house. It doesn't have common walls with another building. It's not a duplex, and he goes, no, it's way more complicated than that, Catherine.
Yeah, very
complicated.
One piece of it, and then there's the whole other piece of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And then I said, hey, where I don't want to get into is I don't want to talk about the people living in the house. you know, I don't want, I just like, this is not about the relationships, you know, because we've got so many different, so many definitions of what a family is. It's like, we're just not going to go down that road either. So.
Yeah, I mean, separation of land uses has always been about, you know, the negative consequences, the negative impacts to surrounding properties. I mean, that's the whole basis for, you know, land use planning and restrictions. So,
yeah,
you know, it's kind of about the externalities and how it changes the character of a place and impacts other people.
And Bill, I don't know if you can answer this question tonight or not, but I know another one that has been asked a lot by people now that this has all been a big can of worms that's opened is how many people can actually live in a house, in a single family home? Is it by the square footage? Is it by the rooms? I mean, that's a big one that people are asking now. And I'm like, I don't want to touch it.
I don't know the answer to it. It's not really a deed restriction question.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not in a city limit, so we don't have an ordinance. I don't know if there are any fire department ones. I'd have to look at it. I know that in certain jurisdictions, there are some restrictions on the number of people based on the number of bedrooms that you have, but it's not a deed restriction question.
Well, and I can honestly say, I think those rules have probably changed over time. You know, my grandparent, both of my grandparents were one of like 17, 18 children. So it's like, you know, there was a lot of people in one farmhouse that were living together. So, so do we have any more questions before we get close to adjourning the meeting? That are, you know, questions from the board that they wanted to bring up about the whole definition of single family use.
Just this clarification, Catherine. I'll work with the committee on a possible write-up on these issues, but we're not going to publish it without board approval.
Okay.
So this will be coming back to the board because if we're going to establish a board adopted definition of single family, then obviously we have to come back for board approval. It's any more than just general information.
Okay. Okay, so anything more on that? Okay, so before we adjourn, I'm going to ask Linda one more time. Did you want to respond to any of the questions from the residents who are on the call?
No, thank you, Catherine.
Okay. Okay, so with that, then I am going to move to agenda item 5, which is adjournment. I need a motion from somebody to adjourn the meeting.
Motion so.
Okay, I'll second that. Everyone say hi. I want to thank everybody for joining the meeting. And I hope that you stay involved as we see what happens on BeachNut and the rest of our community. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you, board. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you, guys. You're doing a good job. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.